Now we're going to talk a little bit about TAM, or Total Addressable Market. TAM is a measure of the revenue opportunity for a product. Keep in mind that TAM is not a measure of your revenue or future revenue, but it allows you to understand the size of the market if you had 100% of the market. A larger TAM indicates a larger opportunity with more demand for a particular product. However, just because there's a large TAM doesn't mean that your product is guaranteed to be successful. There's lots of other factors that will come into play, like competition. TAM is defined as average revenue per user times the total number of potential users in the market. There's a couple different ways to measure TAM, and we're going to walk through 3 of the most common. First, there's top-down, then there's bottom-up, and finally there's value theory. Let's get started with the top-down method. The top-down method uses industry research to estimate the size of an addressable market. This approach starts from a high macro-level view of the economy. You start with the total number of people in the world, and then you narrow down that number based on factors like demographics. This goes all the way down to your target user. These calculations can be quite complex, but you can also build a simple top-down TAM using stats that are available. Let's walk through an example to find the TAM for bottled water in the United States. We know that there's roughly 7.8 billion people on Earth. And we know that there are roughly 330 million people that live in the United States. We also know that each person needs about 2 liters of water per day. And we know that we're going to charge $1 per liter. There's 330 million people in the United States, and they each need 2 liters of water per day. We're going to charge $1 per liter, and there's 365 days in a year. This works out to a total TAM of $241 billion. The second method for measuring TAM is a bottoms-up approach. This involves using known data points that you have. This could come from early customers and sales, although you could potentially use theoretical customers and sales as well, and then extrapolating them to represent a larger market opportunity. Imagine that we're already selling bottled water in the state of California, and we're interested in expanding it to the rest of the United States. But before we do this, we want to understand the TAM. With the bottoms-up approach, we can look at our existing sales and scale it. In this example, we're still selling water for $1 a liter. The price is exactly the same. But we know that we sell 10 million liters every day. We also know that the population of California is about 40 million people. This means that we sell 1 liter of water per day for every 4 people. And we know that there are about 330 million people in the United States. So switching out the population, we get that the TAM for the United States for bottled water is $30.1 billion. This is a pretty big difference compared to the top-down approach. In the top-down approach, we use some pretty crude assumptions, whereas in the bottoms-up approach, we already had some insight into how many people would actually consider purchasing bottled water. The last approach is the value theory approach, and it's best used for brand new product categories, where you don't really have much information to base any of your estimates on. There's 2 main questions that you need to answer. How much are people willing to pay for the product? And how many will purchase the product? To get these numbers, you'll have to do a lot of research and talk with users to see what they would be willing to pay and to figure out an estimate for how many potential customers you have. We just talked about what TAM is and how there's 3 different methods that you can use for calculating it. Now you should give it a try.